Going to jump right into it. Anybody that has ever lived paycheck to paycheck knows precisely what I'm talking about. When I talk about cheap and easy, cannot wait until payday meals. Those last few days before the paycheck comes in can feel really, really stressful. And that's when you're looking for something comforting, but not necessarily too fancy, elaborate, and you're just not in the mood. I'm just saying. So I just thought I'd mention a few that definitely have worked. One of my favorites is I call it, well, in this area, we call it chopped meat, okay, which is basically ground beef crumbles, okay? So already cooked up ground beef crumbles over a bed of rice with whatever your favorite sauce is, and you could add a can of drained peas over that. It has everything in it. You got your starch, you got your meat, protein, you got your veggie. It's all in one thing. You can make it up so fast. You can use the minute rice just so fast. And like I said, your favorite sauce. Mine would happen to be, let's say, some sort of a jar sauce. If you have any jar sauce left over, just put it on that. You could just add some Parmesan cheese on that. This thing is done up in minutes. This is why it's really important in the beginning of the month when you buy your meat and divide it up, cook up a whole bunch of ground beef crumbles yourself, divide them up, portion them out, put it in the freezer. The night you feel like making that comfort food, voila, you make your rice, whether it's minute rice or whatever rice you have on hand, and you add that and add the sauce and add a drained can of peas to that. Perhaps you want some fresh onion. If you do not have fresh onion, you can forego it. Use some powders that you have, onion powders, garlic powders for flavor, whatever you have. Remember, this is the time right before paycheck time. You're looking for a little comfort. And by the way, that meal is very, very fast, easy. But besides that, very, very filling, very, very filling. Next, breaded chicken pieces with some baked potatoes. Nothing fancy. Whatever chicken pieces you have, you could use breadcrumb. You could, whatever coating that you have. If you have that shake and bake type of coating, you could use that or whatever flavors you have with just literally salt, pepper, garlic powder, whatever it is you have. Put it on your chicken and just bake it up. And on the side, make some baked potatoes. Totally filling. You got your protein, you got your filling potatoes, you got your carbs. Delish. If you want to add a green to it, you could. Maybe if you have some leftover salad or whatever you have, or something in a can, or open up a small can of beets. B-E-E. I gave it three E's. That's not a word that exists. B-E-E. B-E-E-T-S. Beets. Have some beets. They're very healthy. Canned beets, very convenient. Open it up. Use it as a side dish. Yum, filling and delicious. Next, you can never go wrong with spaghetti and meatballs in the beginning of the month. Like I always suggest, okay, you could make up a batch of meatballs, put them in the freezer, take them down, throw them with the spaghetti and your sauce, add a little bit of Parmesan cheese to make it a little more spiffy. If you have any of that, not the fancy one, the shredded mozzarella in those bags, you could get it for like $2. So I strongly suggest you buy those in the beginning of the month whenever you have your resources to buy them. Get a bunch of those bags of shredded mozzarella cheese or whatever favorite cheese of yours that's your favorite. This works very, very well on the spaghetti and meatballs. You can't go wrong with that. And kids love that too. So it's fast, it's easy. I'm telling you, the meal prepping in the beginning of the month makes life so much easier, especially after a really, really long, tiring day at the office or whatever work you do. Okay. So, and when you're broke, you got some comfort food, but not just comfort food, but delicious food. And that's very, very important as well. Speaking of pasta, you can also make good old standby macaroni and cheese. You can make it from scratch. You could use the box version. You could get the one with the very nice, silky, soft cheese or the powdery one, whatever is your preference, whatever you have on hand. Remember, these are those days before payday. So you work with what you have. This is not the time to be picky. This is not the time to be fancy schmancy and just, hold on to it while you can. It always pays in the beginning of the month. Here I go again. It pays to be a little bit of a bean counter. Well, how many of this type of meal will I need this month? And so on and so forth. Do a little math in the beginning of the month. You will be shocked and amazed how that pays off towards the end of the month. So let's say that you want or prefer to make mac and cheese from like totally from scratch. That's fine. But here's another neat trick if you do the box version. If you happen to have a couple of your favorite types of frankfurters, hot dogs, you could grill them up in your frying pan on the stove and get them nice and little, darkened and little caramelized, right? Keep that to the side. Cut them up into little circles, right? And then keep, continue to cook them that way. And then throw those little round circles of hot dog inside of your mac and cheese. It is surprisingly good. You get those pops of the beef flavor with your mac and cheese. So you're boosting up the protein level. So you're getting a little bit of meat, a little bit of cheese, a little bit of pasta. Does not take long, does not cost an arm and a leg. And that's why it's important to keep these kinds of meal components on hand. I'm telling you that beginning of the month time is very, very important. Again, a little bit of planning goes a long way. So mac and cheese with cut up frankfurters that are nicely cooked and caramelized tastes really, really good. If you have the fixings for a garden salad on the side, you are totally complete. There you go. All right. Now, in beginning of the month or whenever you make your major purchase at the grocery store for your meats and stuff of that nature, this is the time if you like either or. Perhaps you rather work this way with chicken or perhaps with stew meat. Okay, like those chuck beef, okay, beef chuck, whatever you call that. The ones with those chunks, as I call it. That's the one. That goes great, and you saute it first, you caramelize it on top of your stove, throw them in your slow cooker, the beef chunks, or if you prefer, you can make a chicken stew instead of a beef stew. Beef stew, use your root vegetables. You got your fresh potatoes. If you don't have those things, look in your pantry. You might have purchased and kept in the back of your pantry longer term a can of boiled potatoes, like that, just plain potatoes in a can. That's great. That's really, really easy to throw in your slow cooker. And if you have some carrots, just throw it all together. Turn that slow cooker on. Let it do its thing. Let all the flavors get together. Yum, yum, yum. If you happen to have some crusty bread or some rolls, or you can make your own rolls on the cheap, I'm telling you, you save a lot of money that way. Do you know how to make your own biscuits? If you know how to make your own biscuits from scratch, that is a really, really good thing to do. That will definitely beef up, pun not intended, totally and completely not intended. That will beef up your beef stew. But not everybody likes beef, okay? Not everybody likes chicken. Some people only want vegetables. Who's to stop you from making a veggie stew? And as most people realize, for example, root vegetables are the way to go. And if you're not a stew fan, maybe you're a soup fan. While we still have a few cool days left, I mean, that you could get away with enjoying your soup a little more than, let's say, when it starts, to become really, really warm. Once the really, really warm weather starts, unless it's a cold gazpacho type of soup, then that's different. Listen, it is really important to keep not only just food on hand, but comforting foods, foods that stretch, foods that fill you up. This is important right before payday. And I know it's a challenge. It could be even more of a challenge because of crazy prices. Some things are coming down, some things have not come down. Some things will take a little while to come down. But if we take out our invisible tools from our frugal toolbox, our invisible frugal toolbox that can work during any type of financial worldly climate, if you will, we know that we can make things on the cheap if we use less ingredients, bigger volume, work with things that have sauces or water based meals that can stretch everything, working with inexpensive vegetables and the inexpensive cuts of meat, if we could still find some left. But what we do is make sure that we slowly cook them so down to a tender thing. Now, if you get a great sale on if you like ground turkey or if you prefer ground beef on those ground things at the beginning of the month, don't forget, cook up a whole batch, portion them out, you have it readily available in your freezer and use as needed. You'll be shocked and amazed how even on those really tough months and those very tough days right before your paycheck comes in, you will still be eating great yourself and your wonderful family. Don't forget to click like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.